Well, today I am very excited because we have a wonderful guest with us, Wendy Meadows. Wendy is a multiple entrepreneur. That's what I call her. She is a lawyer. She has done Beachbody teaching, and she'll talk about that. And she is a life coach, and she does all this stuff simultaneously because I guess she just wasn't busy enough being a wife and a mom and a lawyer, so she needed to add some other things in. Her story is fascinating. I'm really, really happy to have her here with us today. So Wendy, welcome.
Thank you for having me. That was such a nice introduction. You definitely made me giggle a little bit.
Well, good. I'm glad I did. But as you know, we were talking off stage, so to speak. That's one thing that has just really astounded me about you, that you have been able to juggle so many things for a long period of time successfully. And we're going to get into that. But to get started, I'd love if you could just tell our listeners a little bit about your journey as a lawyer, how you started out, where you were working, and just take us through that. Tell us what happened.
Sure. Well, I went to law school in DC. I went to American, also known as Washington College of Law. And what I decided after my 3-year stint in DC is I preferred Baltimore much better, much, much more. My best friend at the time was going to med school in Baltimore. So we would alternate DC, Baltimore, DC, Baltimore. And I definitely felt more at home up here. So when I was looking for jobs, I looked for jobs in the Baltimore County area, excuse me. And I found a small boutique family law firm that really piqued my interest. And I had an accidental interview with them. I did not know I was interviewing. I thought I was just meeting someone else to learn more about family law. And next thing you know, I had a job offer. So that was pretty exciting as a third year law student. And yeah, so I started there as pretty much right after I took the bar, and I was with that firm pretty much my whole time till I went out on my own. So I was with them for 13 years, practicing as a family law attorney.
So 13 years in a firm, and when you work in a firm, there are lots of comforts, regular paycheck, benefits, etc. So after 13 years, what made you decide to make a change?
A lot of different reasons. So many little reasons. They all added up to the time it was time for me to leave. Sadly, it was a hard departure for me because I was leaving what I felt like a family. But my new office is much more close to home. And as much I had a lot of autonomy at the firm, but I still felt that tug and pull, and I still felt like I was being tugged and pulled by other people's schedules, and not unfairly so, but to the point I couldn't handle with the guilt of being tugged and pulled in different directions. And I'd rather just manage myself rather than manage, a whole firm. Because I'd say at the end, I did make partner there after 5 years of being an associate. And by the end of there, I called myself the managing partner. I was doing the books, I was doing the billing, I was doing HR issues. And I enjoyed it, but I was ready to just be my own in my own little silo. So I'd have more time for my family, be closer to my family. I knew how to run a business. I knew I could do it. And also I knew I had this other thing coming down the pike. I knew it was coming. I didn't know what it was. I knew I was really excited about it. And I didn't want to be unfair to my partners or to me. This was back in 2018, and I knew something was coming, so I didn't want to be unfair to them by taking away billable time for them. Because I knew my billables would go down as I was discovering what else I wanted to do and grow this other career. But I didn't want to be unfair to me and have to share whatever my new thing was. So that's pretty much the sum of why I left.
So that's pretty interesting. You said you knew something was coming. Mm-hmm. But it sounds like you didn't know what it was. Tell me a little bit more about that feeling. What do you mean you knew something was coming?
So I left there in 2018. In 2016, I became a Beachbody coach. So a Beachbody, if you're not familiar, it's a fitness company. They have lots of coaches all over the world. And basically what we do is we sell products. We end up selling these Beachbody products. We sell programs, and we host these little groups, accountability groups, where we really make sure our clients are, working out when they say they're going to work out, they're eating right, they're eating healthy. We call it pressing play on the same workout. And it's a really incredible community. And I fell into that community in 2016 as a participant, actually 2015, completely by accident. It was complete accident. I became a coach completely by accident, but I loved it. And so commencing in 2016 for like the next 2 years, my eyes were open that there was a different way you could make money. There was a different way to connect with people. The Beachbody World was very sparkly and happy and uplifting and inspiring. And the more I became immersed with Beachbody, the more I started to bring the good character traits from Beachbody into my law practice and into my mediation practice and into me as a lawyer and looking at things differently and how I can market differently. And through Beachbody, I started this blog on lawfullylean.com. I had this blog. I was like just blogging whatever I felt like blogging about. And I was getting a good response. And I just knew I would be wearing this hat where I was helpful to lawyers, but not necessarily a lawyer. And I knew I needed time to figure out what that was.
So what did you mean when you said, I'm intrigued by this, the Beachbody world was sparkly and happy, and you brought that into your law practice, which implies that the practice was not sparkly and happy before then.
No.
And tell me, okay, I get that. I do get it, especially family law, yes. But how did you do that? When you said you brought that into your law practice, can you give us some examples of that or what that meant for you?
Well, I first noticed it. I'll say where I noticed it and then how I brought it in. I noticed it as I went to like this crazy Beachbody, not crazy, this really fun Beachbody event over the weekend. And everyone was so nice and kind, and the conversation flowed both ways. And everyone was there to support one another, even though we're all kind of competitors, right? Because we're all like out there trying to, get Beachbody clients. There was always a collaborative feeling, always. Like what's mine is yours, what's yours and mine. We're all going to share, and just really come together. And I remember I had an event, like some sort of like dinner a week or two later, and it was all drab. Like it was like the excitement level in the Beachbody room was here, and I went to this like family law dinner, and the excitement was like here, and it just like people just weren't talking with flow, and and I'm not saying it's always like that. It was like this one particular event I went to, and it was just I remember looking around at all the people. I'm like, why can't we just like be nice to each other and be kind and be excited and listen to one another? So where I really started bringing it into my practice, as I noticed the way I talk to my clients 100% changed. So the sad reality in family law, how a lot of family law attorneys treat their clients, is we yell at them a lot. And they're already going through a really hard time. And sometimes they have really what I'm going to call bad behavior, where they do knucklehead things. And instead of us being kind and forgiving and understanding and compassionate, we yell at them. And I didn't realize what I was doing. I didn't realize it was happening. I'm definitely guilty of doing that when I was a baby lawyer. And I noticed it start to go away as I became a coach, because every morning I would start my day, because you ask how I do all these things. I started my day every morning, 6 a.m. on my computer, pouring into my challenger, saying, good job, great job. I love seeing this. I love seeing that. So my vocabulary changed. And then before I knew it, I was bringing the same encouraging coaching vocabulary to my clients. And when I did that, I noticed they started changing. And I wasn't yelling at them for bad behavior. They were having good behavior because they were having good behavior. And they responded really well. They liked me. We had a good relationship, which also means I'm a better chance of me getting paid, right? As their family law attorney as well. And just the whole, they were happy with me. Not even if I got them the best results or not the best results, because I listened, because I cared, and because I advocated for them, and they felt like I was on their side.
So that's really interesting what you just said, in that you're in an area of the profession that family law, it's adversarial with the other side, and yet you become, and I think this happens a lot in litigation, unfortunately, you become adversarial with your own clients. because of I think the stresses that we all feel, but also because that's historically been somewhat of the model. And it's interesting what happens when you break that model, because you had a totally different result then with your clients and their behavior just by breaking the model of how you historically may have treated them or dealt with them.
Correct.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And it's interesting because I've long felt that in law, particularly in litigation, because that's what I was always involved with, that if women could just deal with each other in the ways that we would normally deal with each other in business and deal with our clients the same way, that the whole adversarial tone of law would be so much different. You know, you zealously represent your client, but that doesn't mean yelling.
Exactly.
Or it doesn't have to mean yelling, although so frequently it is yelling. Yes, I know.
So frequent. And like so much less so for me. Like, I can't remember the last time I yelled. I can't remember the last time I yelled. Where it used to be that was, you do it every day. You yell, you know, you yell opposing counsel, like they hang up on you, like, and it's this awful thing. And I just don't, that's not how I do business anymore. It's certainly not, it's not helpful to anybody.
Exactly. And yet it's tolerated. And that could be a whole nother session on the tolerations that we have as lawyers. But it is tolerated, and it's unfortunate because it not only doesn't need to be that way, it's not healthy for anybody, and it's not productive. Yes, exactly.
I feel my blood pressure going like this.
Yeah, it's time to do something differently. Well, good for you, because you did find a different way to handle your clients and to handle that type of pressure. So, okay, so now you're on your own. And so how long have you been in private practice?
Since
with yourself as a solo?
August 2018.
Wow, congratulations. That's great. So tell me, advantages and disadvantages of solo versus in a small firm.
There's so many advantages. So I guess I'll try and start with the disadvantages, or the things that I miss. The things that I miss about being a part of a firm would be, like, this Christmas in particular, this holiday season, I really missed the firm holiday party. I missed the collegiality. I miss being able to walk down the hall and plop in my partner's chair after maybe a grueling phone call or a grueling meeting or something else, and be able to talk with him about, what did you think about this? Or what do you think about that? And like volley ideas back and forth. I miss those instances for sure. I'm doing a workshop right now about people who are thinking about going solo as well. And yesterday the workshop was about finances, and it was about, and I was like showing them my master spreadsheet. I'm like, this is how much it costs to run a law firm. Like, you are getting my Bible right now. And I was going through it. I'm like, wow, like some of these expenses, it would be nice to like share with somebody else. You know, some of the overhead. Now my overhead overall is way smaller than a big firm or a medium firm. But it would be nice to share some expenses. But the benefits, even though no one was putting guilt or pressure on me about my schedule, I can 100%, I still felt it. I still felt guilty if I was not a button seat there Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. Now I'm sure some of that's changed a little bit with COVID, but at the time, like, I was always home on Mondays. I called it Mommy Mondays. I was 100% mom on Mondays, you know, before my kids were in school. Fridays, I'd left early so I could be home. And other time, I'd have to leave randomly early for the children. And I still felt guilty, or I felt funny, and I felt like maybe I'm hurting the firm. And I constantly was doing all these calculations to make sure my hours could be right, so I wasn't hurting anyone. And I was calculating my commute time and billable hours and all of this. And that just went away. The guilt went away. I felt complete freedom when I had my own firm. Another benefit is when all of your work that you do, and like when you do, like, you have 3 days of trial and you get paid for all 3 days of trial, you know, and that and that money comes in and you know, oh my gosh, this is mine. That's awesome. Or it's like, you know, you're working really hard and you are going to 100% reap the rewards, you know, and that your
Yeah.
family's going to reap the rewards. Like I never worked more than I worked in 2020. I've never worked more than I did that entire year, but I had a goal, which was we put in a pool in the backyard and it was a pretty expensive project, but I
Yeah.
kept on saying, it's for the pool, it's for the pool, it's for the pool. And knowing that the money I was doing was directly benefiting my family in a very tangible way. It didn't feel like work. It was a very clear goal. And I knew I didn't have to like negotiate, you know, my bonus. Like I said, this is what I want my bonus to be this year, and I could go out and get it.
Exactly. Exactly. That's great. That's great. So now you're on your own, have your own practice, have it set up and running the way that you want,
Mhm.
and yet you decided to add another business to it.
Yeah.
Correct? Okay.
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
I'm
All
turning the
right.
steering wheel again, you know.
So tell us about the new business or the additional business, I should say.
Additional. So just so you're not getting too freaked out that I'm doing too much, you know, as I know if my father were listening, he'd be like, oh my gosh, like what is Wendy doing now? You know, and he knows this, but just like rest assured. So I turned off one spigot to turn on the other. So I turned off the spigot of contested litigation. I'm no longer taking contested litigation cases. I just like when potential clients come to me, I refer them elsewhere if that is who they are. I'm still mediating, I'm still representing children, doing something called parent coordination, but I'm not in trial mode anymore. So my new business venture that I started about a year ago is I'm a life coach. I'm a life coach specifically to what I call law moms or law mamas. So other women who are attorneys, whether they're in the workforce, re-entering, leaving, who are also moms. Those are most of the clients that I serve.
So tell me a little bit about that. When you say life coach, what really does that mean in your business?
Right. In my business, it means getting women unstuck. That's what so usually a woman is feeling very stuck about something, or she's feeling twirly, she's feeling flustered, she's feeling anxious, she feels like she can't get herself together and she's the only person in the world and she must be the failure because her kids aren't doing their chores and she yells at them to get outside and onto the bus and she doesn't know how to bill her time and she knows she's losing time and she doesn't go on date nights with her husband and you know, it just like it's this whole big thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we meet and we have sessions, typically about, it depends, you know, how they end up signing up with me. But I have one-on-one coaching sessions where more often than not, they bring the issue to the table and we start really drilling down and figuring out, okay, what can we focus on first that will start to make everything else easier? And I give them accountability and action steps and homework. So for example, I met with a lady today and that basically just described her, like all these like million things going on. And, you know, I'm like, well, where do we need to work first? And she's like, you know, my house is a mess. So I'd heard her say her kids need to do chores and her house is a mess and she has no time. I'm like, your kids are going to start doing some chores. They're old enough. Two birds, one stone, you know, like, and but I'm not making her do 21 million things at once. We're not going to say, have some big fancy chore chart. Like, I'm not going to make their homework so insurmountable. Like, it's just one other thing they can't do. It's like, your son is going to start vacuuming. Your daughters are going to start emptying the dishwasher. And she came up with these. Like, I wasn't like dictating,
Yeah.
you know, we came up with these together. And with this additional time, you are going to, you know, maybe work out or something. So we start, it's like baby steps, little baby steps, actionable steps that they can take. And then life starts getting a little easier.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Now, and are your clients women who are currently practicing law, or are they lawyers who maybe are out of the workforce but coming back? Both. Okay. And so I can see all the chaos when you're practicing law and trying to be a mom at the same time. Now, but there's a different set of issues, I would think, if you've been out of the workforce now for a while, perhaps raising your family, and now you're coming back. So what are some of the typical issues that you would help women with?
Mindset.
Really? Mm-hmm.
That they don't believe that they are smart enough. Like, was I really smart enough to be a lawyer? Was I really smart enough to go to law school? Like, can I dust the cobwebs off? Am I able to do this thing? I don't know. I'm scared.
Mhm.
Um, what does it look like? Do I want to be a lawyer? It's battling those questions, and it's a lot of mindset. It's a lot of, again, baby step homework and feeling things out to see what they might like to do or not like to do, so they can
Mhm.
figure
Mhm.
out, what their path will be next.
Oh, yeah, that's great because it, it's sort of painful for me to think about the women who went through law school, which is not easy. I mean, I do have a handful of friends and people that I went to school with for whom it was a breeze, but for the most part, that's not the case. It's a lot of work. It's very expensive.
Mhm.
And that degree means something when you're finished,
Mhm.
but to not be able to use that or to choose not to use that in any capacity, to me, is such a shame and such a waste. And it's great that you are helping these women to understand that it's okay that you've been raising a family. That's fine. And there's a path that you can make for yourself coming back into the law as a lawyer. And it doesn't have to be, it could be, the traditional go work for a firm kind of path, but it doesn't need to be that at all. There are so many other options that are available.
A lot of women don't want that necessarily anymore. They don't want to have to be somewhere 5 days a week, the 9 to 5. It's more getting to use a little part, like not a little, getting to use a part of their brain again, being back out, like working again, earning an income in some way for their family.
Yes, yes, exactly. And some of the things that I see with my clients too are the need or the desire to feel like you are making some kind of positive contribution to
Yeah.
someone else, and using your legal skills to do that, which is, the money is very important,
Hmm.
but so is that aspect of it.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of times, sometimes people tend to sort of poo-poo that, if you know what I mean, like, oh, that's not, or our culture might poo-poo it a little bit. But I think particularly for women, that is an important aspect of whatever you do, but particularly as a lawyer, what am I doing that's actually productive and helping someone else?
Yeah, agreed.
And a law degree can go a long way to making that happen, if you're, put yourself in the right position.
Hmm.
So, okay, so you are a busy lawyer, you are a busy life coach,
Hmm.
and you have perfected how to set up and run a business. So for people who are, women out there, in particular, lawyers who are thinking, yeah, maybe that's something I want to do. Um, what's one piece of advice you would give to a woman who is wanting to set up her own law firm?
To do it. Number one, to do it. Um, and not really to do, if that is what she wants, then she needs to go after it. Period. Like, end of story, done. Without waiting for everyone else to say yes, this is okay.
Perfect, perfect, exactly. So, Wendy, this has been great. I have loved every bit of your story, and I know it's an inspiration to a lot of people. If any of the listeners want to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
Yes, by visiting my website, www.wendysmeadows.com. Maybe, I don't know if you do show notes, it might be easier
Yes,
to see it in there.
yeah, we'll put that out. We'll put that out for people. No problem.
Anyone can schedule an introductory call with me, and we talk for about 20 minutes and just see if I'm able to help you and how I can help you. And then if it looks like we can, then we have another conversation where we talk about what it's like to work with me and what it's like to do my transformation program with me, and do some one-on-one coaching.
Perfect. So, law moms, this is the lady to talk to. That's for sure. She's been there, she's done it, and she can help you do it too. So, Wendy, it's been great. I really appreciate you coming on to talk to us today. And I will make sure that your contact information is available for everybody.
Perfect. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
All right. Good to talk to you.